Asking where something is implies a physical ontology, and you're begging the question for materialism.
No, I'm not begging anything. I'm simply showing you the fact.
Hello lads and ladettes, my name is Christopoulos and welcome to my YouTube channel. What I bring to you today is a recorded live debate from a TikTok live. This is no ordinary, random live TikTok debate where people are debating their politics, but this is rather a debate on the argument from mathematics for theism. The first debater we have is a somewhat well-known atheist on TikTok who goes by the name Mike Brigandi. Mike is arguing against the argument from mathematics. The other person we have in this debate who is arguing for the argument from mathematics is my very great friend Christopoulos, or better known as Explore Reality on YouTube, TikTok, etc. This TikTok live is hosted by John, or better known as Bought by Blood 316. Huge disclaimer right before we get into this debate. This is not a formal debate and it is sort of horrendous. I will leave the links to all these guys' socials. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this debate. Please leave a like, comment something or not, and feel free to subscribe.
No, it's not. You asked me to give...
Because I can show you that math is coming from thoughts, and thoughts are physical things. That's the whole point of the conversation.
Mike, I am arguing.
You can do this all you want, but it's not going to help you.
Okay, and you can keep keep derailing the conversation all you want, but that's not an objection to my argument. My argument first.
I care about what I'm telling you. Are thoughts physical or not?
That's irrelevant to the proposition of mathematical realism.
There's no point in me talking to you because that's the point of my argument. I have an argument. I'm trying to get my point across. If you're not going to take my point, then why are we talking? You're wasting my time.
Then why don't you make an objection to mathematical realism?
No question.
What, are thoughts physical?
Yes.
I hold that they're not physical, but that's, again, philosophy of mind.
How are they not physical? We can show this in a lab.
This is exactly why I'm choosing not to answer the question, because now we're going from the argument for mathematics to philosophy of mind.
Yes, in the argument that I was trying to say is that math is a physical
What does
thing.
What does philosophy of mind have to do? What does philosophy of mind have to do with mathematical ontology?
Wow. Okay. Well, you just went against facts and you went against science, right?
Okay, you're just stating opinions.
No, science is not an opinion. Science is based on facts and reality, right? Your belief in God is not based on any reality. There's no reality that points to God.
Okay, Mike,
you made it up in your brain.
Mike, I'm being really patient with you here. I'm giving an argument for the abstraction of mathematical objects being real. The number two, I'm giving an argument for the number two, or mathematical principles like addition, having abstract reality, an abstract ontology. And I gave a reason why I think that's the better position. So now what you have to do...
Math conceptual thing that we've invented. It's a language that we've invented. Yes.
No. I said it has
when you say abstract, what do you mean? When you say abstract, you mean it's metaphysical, right? You mean it exists outside the realm.
Well, no, abstract doesn't entail metaphysical. I mean, metaphysical doesn't entail abstraction.
Okay, so where do you think math exists? Do you think math exists outside of the physical realm?
I already told you why that's an incoherent question.
Okay.
Asking where the number two exists. Yeah, you don't need it to exist somewhere for it to have an existence. Asking where something is implies a physical ontology, and you're begging the question for materialism.
No, I'm not begging anything. I'm simply showing you the fact. The fact is that thoughts are
Mike,
then you're just denying science.
Mike, what does science have to do? I'm using science to say that the better explanation of why mathematical principles are applicable to the real world is that mathematical principles have an abstract ontology.
What's even
real objects.
What even has more explanatory power than that is that math was something that we invented to explain the world as we think it exists. That's a better explanation, not that math is somehow abstract.
Okay, so then Mike, Mike actually made an objection. I praise God. Okay, so you said the better explanation.
Which God?
You proposed a competing hypothesis, right? You said the better explanation is that we made these things up, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So here's the question. So then now we have to compare theories. What's the better explanation? What explains more? What's less ad hoc? What is more parsimonious? All this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I would say that your explanation is not nearly as doesn't have the explanatory power that mine does. Because if mathematical objects are real, we would predict that things like laws and like the laws of mathematics would be applicable to the real world. And so I would argue that we discovered these mathematical principles, not made them up.
I know you, and that's a claim that you're making based on no evidence. All the evidence we have suggests that math is something that we invented.
Mike, evidence
all the time.
Well, okay, define evidence.
Mistakes in mathematics, right? It's obvious that humans make errors.
But that doesn't mean that it's not objective. That just means we have some sort of epistemic issue when it comes to our apprehension of different mathematical principles and how we apply them.
Okay. So are you saying that from the position that why we call 2, why we give it definition of TWO, and then we take another definition of TWO and we make a definition of FOUR? That I feel like that's what you're saying, and you're saying it comes from a mind. But let me ask you a question. You believe there was a point of existence when there were no conscious minds on the earth. There were no conscious minds in the universe. Do you believe that?
Yes.
Okay. So do you believe that if there were 2 flowers that grew out of the ground, one flower to the east, one flower to the west, would that abstract principle that there are 2 flowers still exist in reality, separate from a conscious mind, to give a definition?
You're calling it an abstract principle, but what it really is just the universe, and we don't really know what it is, right? You're just calling it math. You're calling it an abstract principle, but what actually it is just the universe. We don't know what it actually is. So yes, the universe would still exist without us, but math wouldn't. Math is an invention that we've made up. The universe would still exist.
So what is your argument for that? You're right now, all you're doing, Mike, all you're doing is stating an opinion. What you need to do is tell me why my argument fails. And you can't just be like, well, science, because actually science, the consensus on mathematicians is that mathematical objects have an objective ontology. They argue, most mathematicians actually will say that we discovered mathematical principles. And if you don't believe me, I can draw up a fill paper survey on this right now.
Yes, some scientists say that mathematics is what makes up, is like the fabric of the universe.
No. Nobody is saying that.
I don't think that. So there's just
nobody is saying that. No, don't strongman me. I said
yes. No, people are saying that. Scientists are saying that.
We're talking about mathematical realism, not quantum field theory.
Yes. Have you heard? Okay, whatever. Max Tegmark is a scientist that believes in that, but go ahead.
Yeah, I understand that, but what I'm referencing here is mathematical realism, not what caused the universe or what makes up the universe.
Yes,
those are two separate things.
Mathematics is descriptive of the universe. Yes.
No, I would say that the laws of mathematics are prescriptive, and I gave an argument for them having an ontology. Yeah. Or why the best explanation of the data that we have.
Your argument is that, it makes more sense to me.
That's the best explanation.
Your argument is that it explains.
That's how science is done. We have a relevant set of data, and we make hypotheses off this data, and we make predictions off that data, and see what the best explanation is.
Yes, and there is no explanation for. We don't have an explanation right now, as far as we can see, though.
Well, that's just skepticism. That's not an objection to my argument.
But you gave an explanation, though. Wait a second. Time out. You gave an explanation. So why do you mean now that there is no explanation, since you already gave an explanation?
Okay. So the point is that as far as we can see, mathematics is the thing that we made up in our minds, because
so that would be the explanation, right?
Minds produce language, humans produce language like English and logic. These are languages that humans made up. Okay.
I'm not talking about the
world.
language, though. I'm not talking about the language.
Yeah, math is a language.
I'm not talking about when I'm talking about the number 2, I'm not talking about the word we're using to describe.
I know the principle. I know you're talking about the principle.
Okay.
Correct.
And the principle is also something that we've invented to describe the universe. They're also descriptive of the universe.
Then if that's your explanation, why did you say we don't have an explanation? That's my question.
We don't have a confirmed explanation.
Well, you don't need to. We're making an inference to the best explanation right now.
Yeah, and you're giving any evidence. You're not giving any substance behind your
argument.
I
did actually, right? I did. I told you that the best explanation. First of all, I made an appeal to the consensus of the professionals, even though I don't like doing that because it's fallacious. But I figured that might help you understand where I'm coming from. But I also gave you a reason why mathematical realism is a better explanation, because that would predict the applicability of mathematics to the real world. Whereas mathematical nihilism.
How?
What do you mean how? If mathematical principles are real and we discover them, then it would make sense that they have some sort of ontology within reality. I mean, it just kind of logically follows.
And it would also make sense. If we invented it, it would make sense that, they would have principles that we can follow as well that correlate with reality.
But we don't follow principles.
What? We don't follow principles. What do you mean?
We don't follow principles that just we make up out of nowhere. The universe doesn't follow those principles.
I know.
Okay, so that just kind of helps my position, right?
No, that helps. That also supports my position.
How so?
Because if we invented mathematics, and that would also follow that the universe does not follow how we describe it. The universe would a description of it. It would just act as it is, and we would follow how we think it does through description.
So yeah, you're just stating an opinion right now, right? So again, we have a relevant set of data. Right? I don't care. You can keep restating your position, but the point here is the relevant set of data here is we have these mathematical principles, right? I say they have an ontology, they're real, while you say we made them up. I say the better explanation of the relevant data, the applicability of these things, is that they're real.
Let's just assume.
And the reason I'm saying that.
Let's just assume your argument's correct. Let's say mathematics is whatever abstract reality. Let's concede. What do you go after this? Does this mean God's real now? What's the next step?
Yeah, sure. So I would say mathematical principles are thought-like, right? They don't. Would you agree?
That just goes back to my position. That just supports my position.
No, that doesn't go back to your decision. No, it doesn't.
Because that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm saying they come from thoughts.
Yes,
if anything, that would be the opposite in your position.
But not ontologically. That's the point.
I'm talking about ontology here, not So
no.
So how about you actually hear the argument first instead of doing this? Would you agree or disagree that mathematical principles are thought-like? As in, they have a similarity to thoughts. You write down the word, the equation 2 + 2 = 4.
Thought. Yes. Mathematics is literally a thought. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that, but that doesn't mean that they're grounded.
That doesn't mean the ontology of mathematics are thoughts.
So.
Well, it would follow that. Yes, the principles that.
No, it doesn't. Okay, can you give me a syllogism as to how it? Can you give me a syllogism as to how that follows? Mathematical principles are thought-like, therefore they're made up by humans.
Yes. Okay. So if we think of 2 + 2, right? That principle 2 + 2, the conclusions that we make from that principle, like 2 + 2 = 4, that conclusion would also be a thought that we make up.
So.
But you just granted that we don't make them up.
What we do? That's what the whole point is that we do
No, no,
make
no,
a.
no, no. You specifically said, okay, well, let's just operate off of the assumption that you're right and mathematical laws have an ontology.
Oh yeah, that's where we disagree.
But
Right,
you
but you
grant
said,
you
but
granted it.
you granted it, so
granted
we're
it.
moving on.
You said let's move on. Let's
You're
say
right.
let's say it is the case that mathematical abstractions have ontology.
Okay, yeah, then go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, that's where we.
So
But
so that means that the ontology, right? These mathematical principles have to have a grounding then based off the grounding principle, right? So what makes these things true, all that stuff. So I would ground these things in the first cause or the necessary thing, right? And so it would make more sense. Again, the better explanation of what this thing would be something that can produce thought-like things like mathematical principles or ground these mathematical principles that would suggest a mind. And so the likelihood of these mathematical principles being some sort of abstract, non-mental thing is much lower than something that's concrete and mental. Abstract objects have no causal power, while concrete metaphysical things do. Minds can give way to mind-like things, while non-minds can't give way to non-mind things. So the better explanation is that this first cause is a mental thing. It has consciousness.
okay. I don't even know what first cause means, but okay.
Well, you granted that. So
Okay.
Yeah, I know.